Okay, too much information about the coronavirus and the origination. Okay, I was contacted by somebody at the Pentagon because they were blaming the U.S. Army for spreading it. That was the Chinese propaganda. I mean, really, what happened is China had a one-child policy. There were all these forums and stuff on overpopulation. China had a hard economic time taking care of these people that just had one child because that child was needed to work, that child was needed to be in the military, that child was needed to keep the economy going, but that child could not handle both parents as they were aging, okay? Then what happened was this drug, now I do not know if it was done by the Chinese government, an entity of the Chinese government. I don't think that the president of China ordered it to be created, but oddly, it was created in an area where there were a lot of factories near this laboratory that were not ventilated very well, and a lot of these workers that worked at the factory in their 60s, in their 70s, had respiratory issues. Now, this virus killed them. China has never been honest about how many people in China died, but the people in Beijing, when they found out, they did not want those people to come to Beijing. This is why I do not think that the president of China was aware that it was released, okay? I think it was more of a regional China issue, kind of like racism in America seems to be a regional issue. I see racism predominantly in the South. Okay, although we've had some odd incidents in the North. But you know what? How you handle a problem is not how America handled racism. They're basically making everybody suffer, when really there are just a few asshole racists that really need to be dealt with, okay? We need to respect all people, We need to respect people of Asian descent, because people that are Chinese, people that are Asian did not create the virus. People that were Asian created the virus, but you should not blanket a whole group of people, okay? So what I'm saying is this virus was created. It was not the fault of anybody but the Chinese scientists that created it, and when it was released, was it done maliciously to stop the economic problem that was happening in China? But because of Chinese New Year and all the middle-class Chinese able to go and have fun and to take cruises, there were all these cruise ships in China for Chinese New Year's, and this was in January 2020, at the end of January. And these cruise ships, you know, they took all these Chinese people on cruises who had COVID, and their crew members became COVID laced with asymptomatic, and then the cruises started going to Vietnam and started going to all these other countries. And that is how COVID started spreading. And then people would fly back home in areas that had high Chinese populations, like Seattle, very global. There was a pocket in Arlington, Virginia, that was in February, March, and they won't even admit it because that's home to the Pentagon. Why the fuck would we admit that we had COVID in Arlington, Virginia before we even had a test for it? Well, I know we did, because I was told I was exposed and I was denied access to a cruise because I was cruising to help with regulations. I took the first cruise that was double passport checks, and I was signed up to do the cruise that they were doing temperature screening, and I lost out on a free cruise because I was freaking exposed to COVID. Anyway, it's a good thing because that cruise ship ended up going an extra 4 days, and they were like floating around trying to find a port that would take them. But actually, I kind of wish I was on a cruise because that would have been a great last vacation. So anyways, I think that we need to get all on board. We cannot blame a whole race of people for coronavirus, but what we can do is insist on transparency with China. We can build a relationship with China. Like Reagan said, trust but verify. We need China. We have to be partners in this global world with people that are not religious zealots, okay? My grandfather was a freaking genius, and he said you can't work with zealots, okay? Chinese are not like people in the Middle East that just cut off heads because of a religion. Although there is a little issue with this other Uyghur thing, which I want to get educated on. But I do believe, after talking to people, that China could be a partner, but they need to be a fair partner. They have to allow more trade. They can't tax our shit if we're not taxing their shit. That's all I'm saying. I'm a big supporter of being a friend to China. My mom was one of the first elected women in a delegation that got to go to China, and this was in the 70s. And it's important that we have a good relationship with a country that is somewhat stable. At that said, I am a capitalist. I'm not a socialist. I don't want my government to tell me what I have to do. And I fear that we're becoming more like China than China is becoming like us. I mean, America, you should be free. You should be free to choose whether or not you take the vaccine. I was part of the clinical trial. I took the vaccine, thought I did, in the late summer. But you know what? It was my choice. And what I see going on in America right now, with that green checks to go back to work, scares the crap out of me. I'm an American. I love my country, but I love people from all over the world. I know how this virus was originated. Could have been malicious, but it could have been an attack on their own people that were bankrupt in them. Haven't heard of a problem with overpopulation yet. Never got the real data about how many people in China died. I was at a conference and had a guy in charge of health showing the chart and had all the red in this except for China. It showed that China had like very little coronavirus. That's because the government never accurately reported the data. China needs to be a better, transparent member of this global world. Trump was an isolationist. A lot of people miss him. And if this global world does not get its act together, we're going back to isolationism. So I think that the people right now that are world leaders, they need to become more transparent and let America be American. Thank you.